Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Life Hitter Show. I'm your host, Jason Wojo. I'm joined by my co-host, Polish Peter. And on the Life Hitter Show, just in case you're wondering, we help people live awesome, abundant, amazing, prosperous lives. And one of the ways we do that is by helping them make more, work less, and create lives and businesses they love. Peter, I'm super excited for today's episode. We have Alex and Maddie Jandick on. We met them a few years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, at our Life and Air event down in Tampa, Florida, the Get a Life Getaway. And they were super engaged, and I've been following him, not in a creepy way, not in a stalking way on Facebook. And I'm just like, dude, these guys they're people that have just taken this and ran with it. It's awesome to see.
Yeah, but the fact that you had to pre-frame that you weren't stalking them just says something, you know? But yeah, I mean, I remember them being at this event. They were the front row every single day and had conversations with her in front of the room.
Yeah, a lot. That's right. I forgot about that. You guys talked a lot.
Yeah, we talked a lot, and I feel like they had breakthrough in there. And I remember thinking to myself, man, these two are going to go somewhere. And then I'm just so excited to be able to see this journey with them. And I'm shocked. I mean, in a good way of what they've been able to accomplish. And I can't wait to share this with you guys, because this should tell you guys that that things are possible, right? You just go and have some faith and then look at how he has been taking on this journey and how he's been responding to different things. And it will hopefully give you some hope and courage and confidence to go and live your own life.
Yeah, man. They're great people, great story. Let's jump in right now to our interview with Alex and Maddie Jandick. Alex and Maddie, welcome to Life Hitter Show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
This is awesome. And Alex, by the way, you waved to me right there. We do have people that are listening to this and can't see you as well. So don't forget.
Oh, my bad.
You're not Polish. I mean,
sorry that my mistake.
That's okay, man. I wave all the time, man. That's all good, dude.
Right. It's a habit.
Right. You're a friendly guy. I get it. Well, listen, we've known, the Life and Air event that we first met you guys at was in Tampa. It was 2 years ago or 3. What?
Almost 2 years ago, because it was I want to say it was like August, maybe July.
No, I thought it was beginning of summer of 2019.
These are pre-COVID times, so it was a while.
Right. It's all a blur, right? Like back in the day.
Yeah, back when you could be in places with people more than 6 people or whatever it is.
Right. Yeah. What is this you speak of?
Yeah, right.
So, well, and I'll tell you, and so you guys were awesome at the event. We had a blast with you. And I've been following you guys on Facebook, not like a stalker for creepy faces, but like, I'm just seeing like this, you're like, hey, popped another deal. Hey, this is going great. Hey. And like things, I'm like, wow, like you guys like, and we had spoken briefly before that as well. And like, you had updated me as to like how things were kind of going for you. And it just struck me that we need to get you in the Life Inner Show, even though for everybody listening right now, like one of the last things Alex said to me, like before we started recording was, man, this is kind of like surreal for us to be in the Life Inner Show. This is kind of wild. And it struck us because we were like, dude, what are you talking about? Like you guys are rock stars and you're making things happen. And what did you say to me actually?
It was just kind of like, once you achieve a certain level of success, it doesn't really feel any different than before. It's just like, okay, a few things in my life are a little bit easier. I got a little bit more freedom of schedule now. But almost like, yeah, it's kind of a weird feeling. Kind of like feels the same. Like I don't have superpowers yet. I can't fly or anything like that. But
so I'm hearing some humbleness there too. Like, you didn't let this stuff go to your head, like, which is just kind of cool. Maddie, would you agree with that? Or like, is he total egomaniac right now?
No, I would definitely agree with that. You would think that like things would change as you gain more success, but I think the key is just kind of staying who you are, always remembering your vision and your core values, and it just kind of flows.
Yeah. So
let's be honest, at home, he doesn't wear a cape and like a Superman thing or nothing when you guys are just hanging out at home.
No, I mean, it's a good day if like I'm wearing socks with no holes in them, pretty much.
That is very true. He just got
my language.
Christmas.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I just like you see people with like the fancy clothes, like the fancy cars and like that I guess just doesn't really appeal to me. Well, besides buying a Tesla, which I will do that. But, you know, you just kind of gotta, success just kind of amplifies who you are, I guess. So I am pretty much who I am today. And I was a former version of this 3 years ago. I guess I could say it's really hard to put into words.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that, by the way. Yeah. The success amplifies who you really are. Yeah. And I think that's an important thing to not to overlook, because if you think about if you're a crappy person, success is only going to amplify the crappiness, right?
Unfortunately, yes, it will.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit. I mean, I know we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves here, but like, I want to walk through people that don't know you. Tell us a little bit about this. You know, we talked about before how you said, you know, you came to this Life in Your 3-day event. You feel, and I'm incredibly honored and humbled by that, by the way, that you felt like that was maybe a catalyst for you guys when you came to that event. Like, what were you guys doing before that? What was life like before that? And what for you changed there, and how have some of these things played out for you? And I want to hear like what life is like now.
I'll start.
Yeah, I'll start. So I personally was working, oh my gosh, probably like 40 or 50 hours a week with commute time. So I was a behavior analyst. I worked with children on the autism spectrum. I would go into people's homes, daycares, schools. I mean, I loved it. You know, I loved my job so much because you get to know so many different family dynamics and so many different families, and you just the personal connection was just always something that I crave and that I just loved my job. But you were working, how often were you working prior to Life in Air?
So prior to Life in Air, so I was an acquisition manager for a wholesaling firm. And the hours were just insane. I mean, it was like minimum of like 10 hours a day, and then you go home and work more. So I was really spinning my wheels and just not getting traction. So I actually was at a TB RIA meeting, and Wojo, you were there presenting. You gave your spiel on like what your schedule looks like. And I was like, man, that, what a dream to have a schedule like that. And when I was walking out, the lady who was signing people up for the 3-day event, she like stopped me and she's like, "You're not going to sign up." And I was like, I don't know. And she's like, "Well, do you have any special events coming up?" And I was like, "Well, my birthday." She's like, "Well, do it for your birthday." She was actually a really good saleswoman.
I'm going to have to hire her.
Yeah, right. And I think it was like $300, which was a good amount of money. And I was like, "Yeah, sure, whatever, let's do it." Signed up for it. But yeah, it was just, I was really getting burnt out. I was at a breaking point. You know, you can only put in so many like 60, 70 hour weeks before you really start getting volatile and just tired of it. So like leading up to Life in Air, like, you know, Life in Air was almost like a vacation for me. Because it was like 3 days. I told my boss, I was like, "Hey, I'll be at this for 3 days." And it was pretty much like, I'm going, and it's not like I didn't care what he said, but I really didn't care what he had to say about it. I was just going.
I remember when you said that we were going to this, I thought it was like a real estate conference. And I'm like,
yeah.
Like I had to take off work for this. Like, this is so stupid, you know? And I mean, complete opposite of what I thought that was going to be.
Because it was like 3 days, since she was a 1099 contract, that was a lot of like money.
Yeah, that's a lot of money that I had to, that was like almost half my paycheck.
Yeah. So it was a pretty like big deal for us to like get up and go. And I was like, "I promise you it's not a real estate thing." And she's like, "Well, then what is it?" And I was like, "I really don't."
You're like,
I was like, this dude, he has a schedule where he worked like 4 hours a week and he napped every day. And it was really cool. And I want to see like if we can like do the same thing. And she's just like, what?
Did you say that he naps? Oh, that's the thing. Oh,
that was a sales point, right?
Yeah. There's this dude.
when you have kids, naps are very important. We actually nap probably 2 or 3 times a week in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
Yes. Speaking my language.
Oh,
you know,
tell us about the event. How was that experience?
It was awesome. You want to talk about?
I think the event, I think really, for me personally, it struck on like, what does success look like? And I obviously referring back to like Wojo's like schedule on, he had a lot of time in his schedule. And we kind of like looked at each other and we were like, we have no time. Like I was waking up at like 6 a.m. And I mean, we were both gone all day until what, like 6 or 7 at night.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we worked a lot, we were making, you know, good money, and we went to the gym, and, you know, you eat healthy, but it's like, but, you know, are we happy? Is this what success looks like? I think when we moved to Florida, so before we moved to Tampa, Florida, we lived in Chicago, Illinois. Now, if you know anything about Chicago, the traffic is horrendous. The weather's horrendous. And
the drivers are horrendous.
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of people either work in the city and they live in the suburbs, or like vice versa. And I remember you came home one day because we were both commuting like hour and a half one way. And we just kind of like looked at each other. We're like, people literally do this for the rest of their life until they're like 65 and then they retire. Like, this sucks. This totally sucks. So we moved to Tampa. Traffic is still kind of bad, but not as bad as Chicago. But we were still working so much, and we were like, yeah, but that's like not why we moved here. Like, we moved here for kind of like a more simpler life. And so I think the Life and Air event just kind of, the story that also strikes me when I think about Life and Air is the yacht story about the man wanting, no, not that one. It's the man who wanted to own a yacht. And instead of owning the yacht, he rented it for like a day. Mm-hmm. And then he was like, oh, okay, got that out of my system. So it's like, that's what it's just getting, I think, what you want. But how do I explain this? It's sometimes you don't know what you want until you get it, until you experience it.
Right.
And that's just so it just kind of reframed to us, what is success? I think the Life and Air event, for sure.
Yeah.
And to be really clear on what exactly that is, because a lot of people are not clear, right?
Right. And a lot of people don't have a clear vision. So when we also, even to this day, when we have tough decisions to make, or we have to we're at like a crossroads, we'll be like, does this fit our vision?
When I'm like, I want a Tesla, she'll be like, does that fit your vision?
And he's like, yes.
Whatever, man.
But like for me at like the 3-day, I think a big part of it was that, Wojo, your schedule really stuck with me. It kind of confirmed like, this is possible. Like, there are entrepreneurs out there that work efficiently, and, you know, the grind from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. every day. Like, you don't have to do that, because we were just, there's working hard and there's working smart. And at the time I was just working so hard. And I just felt like it was like, you know, you get to a point like during the week where you're just so tired of working. It just wasn't, I couldn't even think logically. So I really, really started to pay attention. And then when we had to go home that one night and write our own obituary, I actually started crying, because I was just like, man, I was like, what have I accomplished so far? And like, life really is really freaking short if you think about it. When we lived in Chicago, actually when we lived in Florida too, for a time, I was a hearing aid specialist, and I was fitting older people with hearing aids. And I'd talk to all these people, you know, about their lives, people that were 80, 90, and sometimes like in the last couple of years of their life. And the happiest ones were always usually the entrepreneurs, the ones who had started their own businesses, the ones who had freedom of time, the ones who had traveled the world. And they say, you know, I lived such a great life. And I was just like, okay, you know, I had that in my mind. And then hearing everything at Life and Air, I was like, okay, like that dream is still out there. How do I do that? So it was kind of like a reminder to me, like, get out of the grind. It's not, there's successful people that grind it out, but you don't have to do that, I guess, is what it really taught me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome, man. It's, you know, you mentioned life's short, and it's funny because so tomorrow, you guys may remember this. My dad died at 57 years old. And he was a workaholic. Tomorrow is the 17-year anniversary of his death. And it's just a reminder to myself, like, same as you, like, you know, like we are here for such a short period of time. Like we are meant to have an awesome life, to enjoy what we have, to be happy, to be fulfilled, to feel like we have meaning and a purpose. And yeah, those 12-hour plus days of work, it's just like, at some point you're like, is this really what life is supposed to be about? And the answer is like, I don't think so. So I love that. So you start having these realizations at the event, like what happened next? Because, you know, we spoke not too long after that, and you guys, made some big changes.
Yeah. So I would say right after that, we, had a trip planned to London, and, it was already paid for. And, we ended up finding out we were pregnant just before we left, like a couple weeks before. And on that trip, I was very sick the whole time. So when I think of London, I just think of like puking and illness. But it was a great trip nonetheless. And we were at a pub, and I obviously was not having any beverages. You were, but we were just sitting eating and, you know, kind of like taking the whole experience in. And he just looks at me and he goes, "So we don't really have any money right now. I think I want to start my own business." And I'm just like, "Excuse me, what?" And kind of just came out of nowhere. And we left London, and I think you quit your job like a week or two later.
Yeah.
And started your own wholesaling business.
It was like in London. So before we went to London, we had like 3 deals at the firm I was at that pretty much all fell through. And it was to the tune of where I would have made like, I want to say like 20 or 25 grand. And it was a big deal because at the time, like that was like the money that we needed to live. So I think we were down to like a couple grand, maybe 3 grand in our bank account. And we're in London. And I'm like, okay, we're on vacation. Like, do I tell her now and ruin the vacation? I just remember like the adrenaline in me. I was like, all right, I just gotta get this off my chest. I told her. Yeah, I was like, I'm really sorry. I was like, I gotta start my own business. I was like, it's gonna work. Trust me. I promise everything's gonna work out. It's just I have to do it. And she was like, what? and we're just there. And I just remember like getting it off my chest. Like I was like, okay, I finally said it. And then, yeah, when we got back, I remember texting Alex Pardo, who was our life and Air coach that we were with. And I hadn't even met him in person yet because the first retreat was coming up. I called him. I texted him. I was like, hey, kind of an emergency. Can you call me really quick? So it was like 7 a.m. I was on my way to the job. I was like, hey, pretty much broke. I have to start my own business. It's going to work. But I've got to convince my wife. And he's just like, okay. So I was kind of expecting him. I didn't know what reaction I would get because, like, you know, we were only in Life and Air for a couple months at this point, and just all this verbal diarrhea coming out of my mouth to him. And he's like, okay. He's like, let's organize this. And he's like, let's make a plan. And I was just like, okay, like this guy believes in me. Like this can be done. So I think the next parts are blurry, but we set up a phone call with him. We kind of hashed out the details, and my mind like starts like racing. Like I literally, we have to make rent next month. Like it was down to that. And I went into my job a few days later. I was going to tell my manager after a full day's work that I quit. I couldn't even wait to do that. So I called him before I even got there, and I was like, hey, it's been nice. I quit. And then I went home, opened my laptop on the kitchen table, and started the business. And that's literally how it started. Yeah.
I got a question for you because I think this is important. I don't want to overlook it because I have a lot of conversation with a whole bunch of different people, and their mind goes, before I can quit my job, I need to have all these ducks in a row, right? And from what you're saying, you went basically the complete opposite way.
We had no ducks.
Yeah, there were no ducks.
There were no ducks, right? So I want you to share what what goes through your mind, like what's the reason? How did you actually go and do it? Because there is some faith that is involved here, right? There is some, belief, and I mean, how did you make that connection? How did you actually say, you know what, we're broke. I'm going to quit. I'm going to start my business.
Well, the easy part was the we're broke part. All you got to do is open up your bank account to look at the balance and realize I don't have any money. The faith part kind of came in where, like, you know, I knew how to wholesale a deal. I'd been working for the firm for about a year. We had done, I don't know, probably 7 or 8 deals before. So I knew the process in my head. And I knew what didn't work, which was what we were doing there. Hence why I wasn't making any money.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a theory of what would work. And I literally put that theory to the test. At the time, I think I had a no interest credit card opened with a couple months left on like the no interest portion of it. So I just started loading that thing up to spend money on marketing. And I just sat down. I used different texting platforms to blast text out, you know, the people on my marketing list. And I pretty much did not get up from that kitchen table until I got my first deal, which was, we closed like 14 days later and made rent that month. And I was just like, you know, that was like the confirmation of like, okay, like I can do this, like this can happen. Like I have some faith in myself now, but it was just adrenaline. Like I remember like sweating like through shirts. I remember like not eating sometimes. And I mean, she was 2 months pregnant at the time. Like I'm trying to make all these like plans, like we have to have money for the baby, like we're gonna have to have health insurance, we're gonna have to have like all this stuff. And I mean, yeah, I get where some people are like, you know, I want like an emergency fund, I want this or that. But I feel like if you do all that in your mind, there's always going to be something else or some reason why you're not going to burn the bridges and just go.
I think this was said in Life and Year, or I can't remember if Alex Pardo says this, but it's the saying of, if not now, when?
Right.
Type of a thing. And I think as a partner, I know how smart he is and I know how hardworking he is. So like at first I was kind of like, absolutely not. But also his happiness means a lot to me. So I could just tell he was very unhappy in his current position. Even if he's like, honey, I want to quit my job tomorrow and I want to be, you know, a librarian. I'd be like, that's fine. Whatever you want to do. That's your dream. Cool. I think I just kind of, so for me, the less I know, the better. Well, like, and I just kind of find that out with like just like a lot of situations. Like the less I know, it's just better because then I don't harp on it, don't have as much anxiety, I don't overthink it. So I think after London, I'm like, yeah, just do whatever you want. It's fine. You know, I think, well, at that time, I think I was so sick and my mind was, you know, I had a really bad morning sickness. So my mind was elsewhere at the time. So I think that was kind of like a blessing in disguise.
What I hear, he timed it well then.
Yeah, right. Took advantage of the circumstances.
Yeah, probably actually worst possible timing. So on top of all the physical illness, now she has all this mental stress on top of it. But I mean, it was going to happen. It was a ticking time bomb, essentially.
Right. Well, I got to tell you, I mean, because that can be, it's scary enough. Well, it can be, depending on how your perspective is, to do this on your own. But then now you have a family coming, and it's easy to kind of, and that can really cloud people's ability to perform, because now all they're focusing on is the consequences and the what ifs, and like, what if this doesn't work? What if this, you know, and you guys pulled through that. You blasted through it. You crushed it. And so you closed this first deal, and then was it smooth sailing from there? Were there bumps and bruises? Like how do things look now, and how did that progress to where you are today? Like where do you guys at? I think I saw a post on Facebook or something, like you're at like, hey, deal, what was it, 54 or something like that. Like, so we're
actually closing deal 59 at noon today. So that's pretty
what? On your own?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah. So yeah, it's
that's incredible. Where you go, man?
Thanks, man. But yeah, it's just, I mean, it's just kind of, so I remember deal 1 and deal 2 closed, I want to say like the same week. So it was like day 14 of being an entrepreneur, and then like day like 18. And that was like, so keep in mind at the acquisition firm, I was only making a small percentage of each assignment fee on each deal. So to get the entire thing back into my bank account, I was like, holy crap. I was like Christmas Day. And then the third deal we did was it was our biggest deal to date. It was like 50 grand, and it closed like right after the first Ascend Mastermind. And I think that was like the real confirmation of like, holy crap, like we can do this. Like this is not only is this working, but like this is only going to get better and better. And the ball just kept on rolling since then. Now obviously there's been some speed bumps in the road. Like when COVID hit, I think we went 2 months without a deal. And
I gave birth. I think it was a week or two after the national lockdown too.
Yeah. So
that was
good timing.
Yeah, that was pretty intense.
Yeah, that was, because I even remember being in the delivery room and she was induced and we actually had a closing that day and the lender didn't show up to closing on that specific day. And again, we had gone like 2 months without a deal. So it's like, hey, by the way, new baby, deal not closing, figure all this out. So, there's definitely been some ruts. But whenever there's a rut, I just kind of kick myself back to the same, I call it kitchen table mindset. Like I'm going to force my luck to happen no matter what. It's going to happen. There's no way it's not going to happen. And I understand that there will be more ruts. In fact, I'm probably due for one soon. But you just keep on forcing your luck. You just keep on marketing. You just stick to the plan that works. And yeah, but I mean, it's been pretty incredible. It almost like gives me like goosebumps just to talk about it.
Dude, I love hearing about it. And so I'm hearing a few things. I want to hear from you if these sound accurate or if I'm misreading this. So I'm hearing, number one, there was a desire and you weren't happy where you were. And so you weren't getting, and especially if you see something wrong that your employer is doing, you're like, I think I have a better idea. This is really frustrating. Mm-hmm. And so but along with that, you had a critical eye towards perhaps a gap in their approach or their strategy. And so you're paying attention. And so you had a little bit, and you also had a little bit of I don't want to say head start, but you had learned a little bit about the business. And so you knew about wholesaling. You knew so it's not like you quit and had never, ever you haven't even heard the word wholesaling. So you had a little bit of background. So you had a little foundation. But I also hear I hear a tremendous amount of just personal confidence. Like, okay. And even you said here, you know what, I'm probably due for another rut, but you didn't seem disturbed or bothered at all. You're like, it's just part of it. Like, and how do you get that? Like, how does somebody, because I speak all over the country. Peter speaks all over the country. We hear people all the time that have every excuse in the book. They don't believe in themselves. They just feel like they're going to fail. They'll never succeed. They have a mile long list of all the reasons why it won't work. Like, how do you, and Maddie, maybe you have some perspective on this as well. Like, how do you do it? Like, how does somebody get that if they don't have that?
Take a lot of CBD.
No.
And we'll have a sponsored link below. Just kidding.
No, I would really.
That would make all the sense in the world.
So when we do a lot of like reflection at the end of the day, especially like when baby's down and we're alone. I think people don't give themselves enough credit and how far they have come. So like, even if he had one deal and then didn't have another one for like a couple months, you still made a deal. I think a lot of people try to focus on like, I need to be, at this point in my life in 5 years, I need to be at this point in my life in 10 years, and we need to have this much money and this much money. But I think we take it so day by day and we focus on small wins rather than the bigger picture, because it's just a puzzle piece into the bigger picture, I feel like. And I think that's what kind of keeps us going. And that's why, like, when you have a bad day, or if you do get like stuck in a rut, you just kind of have to remember, okay, but this is how far I have come. It's just a bad day, not a bad life,
Love that.
Everything that she said. Yes.
Good husband.
Yeah. How do I do it? I first off, I agree. There's a lot of people with all the reasons that this isn't going to work and all the oh, the COVID's going to kill the market and there's going to be this REO explosion and this and that. And not going to lie, like this past like 11 months has been incredibly difficult to keep that mental health of like, you have to work on like every single day of filling your head with the right things. Not saying, ignoring bad things in the world that are happening, like they're going to happen regardless. It's just, that's just kind of how the world works. But I think when I get, I have the same problem that a lot of people have. Like, let's take it down to like a granular level, like Maddie was saying. Like, if I'm actually going to analyze a deal today, and I'm going to try to put under contract today, and I'm not sure if I can sell it. It's in the middle of nowhere. I've never done a deal there before. But what I do is I just write down all the reasons why it won't work. And then I just write down how I would solve every single problem. And I'm like, okay, if I can solve all these problems, then it will work. And, every deal is pretty much a bet. You're betting on yourself that you can find a buyer for that. And, you're not going to win them all, but you're going to win. If you can put it in your mind that you're going to win a majority of them, then it works. So the other thing is actually CBD. I do take a pretty good dose of CBD. I find that's the only thing to help my mind from stopping like racing all the time. We've completely cut out alcohol from our diet. You've been sober for how many days now?
Oh, for me, it's been over 2 years.
Not like it was like, she wasn't like, hitting the bottle every day, but we just don't drink anymore. And I think that, even if I had like a beer or two, like alcohol is a depressant and it would fill my head with like thoughts of like why this won't work. And it would kind of eat away at my confidence. So I've replaced that with a hell of a lot of espresso. So I'm constantly, caffeined up through the day. But just working on yourself every day and having that positive reinforcement when you close deal after deal after deal after deal, you're just like, okay, like after 60 deals, you've seen a majority of the crap that you can see with deals. And like, if there's a problem that pops up, I can probably figure out how to solve it. Or if I can't, I'll make a bet on myself. I'll solve it and I'll be happy when I do. So I guess what it comes down to is it's a daily thing. You literally have to work on it every day, because I'll wake up sometimes with negative feelings. And I know it's my responsibility to get those out of my head and get myself in the right mindset.
I also want to touch upon one more thing too, is that, can you tell I've been in quite a bit of therapy since life. People, when they're on this just journey of life, and it doesn't always necessarily pertain to the matter of, somebody passing away, but people need to understand the stages of grief. So when you have an idea, or like if something like does fall through, I think a lot of people don't understand the stages of it. There's sadness, there's bargaining, there's anger, there's acceptance, and also like giving ourselves the chance to kind of like be in those stages and feel it. And then also then coming to the term of like just radical acceptance of, okay, so that happened and I was sad about it. I was angry about it. I felt it. And then I'm going to do X, Y, Z. I think a lot of people don't know how to grieve, or they are in certain stages for various amounts of times. And they don't understand that you go in and out of stages of grief too, if something doesn't work out, or if you go through a traumatic event or something along those lines.
Yeah. I think the other thing that I've heard from you guys is how you respond to things, especially the ones that don't work so well or don't work according to your schedule, right? Then when the life hits you across hits you in the face, it matters how you respond, because from what I heard, man, Alex, the way you respond is very empowering. It's like, you know what? If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. I'm going to, do this, right? Like you mentioned, you have this image in your head of the kitchen laptop, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that is important, because a lot of times people don't respond it in the right way, and it takes them down that rabbit hole, or they got stuck in it. And all of a sudden it's days or weeks or whatever the case may be. So I think that's an important aspect of why you guys are where you're at. And I think the fact that, because sounds to me from what I'm hearing, guys, you guys are a team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that. How you guys work together, how you support each other.
Yeah, she carries the team. How do we work as a team? We just
a lot of communication.
a lot of communication. And then not to hop back, but I do want to top off the thing that you just said. You can have reasons or you can have results, but you can't have both. Just like, I don't know, especially like with having like a 10-month-old in the house, like I just try to do like a lot of like little things throughout the day, wash the bottles, do the, unload the dishwasher, clean, like she was at a doctor appointment with the baby today. So I took like 45 minutes of my morning, just cleaning everything, making sure, I was ready when they got home so I could take the baby out of the car. Cause I knew that, with the baby getting shots this morning, getting allergy testing, it was going to be a rough time at the doctor. So that way, when she came home, she could have 15 minutes to just decompress. So I try to guess a lot of what she's feeling and when she'll like need like a break. And she does the same exact thing for me. She's like, okay, what does your schedule look like today? Do you need to close the door to your office to get a bunch of work done? Okay, I'll take the baby from this time to this time. So it's just always, I try to do as much as I can and expect nothing in return. And she does the same exact thing. When you do that, it just, it leads to, if each partner gives 100%, then it's going to work well.
That right there, I think that's even the secret to successful marriage and out of business. Think about it, when you do stuff for the other person or any expectations, right? Give love without expectation.
Love language is huge.
Right.
Yeah.
Very huge.
Yeah.
So.
Awesome. I love it, man. I'm so impressed and happy for you guys, man. That's so cool because I remember you guys sitting in that front row for, I think, every single day for the 3 days of the 3-day. Mm-hmm. And I remember you guys very clearly, and I'm just amazed at what you guys have accomplished and how you come through.
Well, money's worth, man. That $300 was expensive.
Well, I'll tell you, like, I know, and I just for perspective, you guys really are still very young in your journey. Like, this has only been a couple years. Like, can you imagine another 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 years where you're going to be? Like, it's incredible.
It's honestly, it's tough to think about that sometimes, just because it's like, okay, yes, we've had, a major amount of success in the past couple of years. And then like, you have to like think in your mind, like, okay, like what's the meaning of success for the next year, the next 2 years? And I think I forget where I heard this quote, but I do like to live by it. A lot of people underestimate what they can do in 5 years. And they try to focus on getting it all done in 1 year, and they overestimate it. And then when they don't see the results, they're like, oh man, that didn't work. But we just try to take it like day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year. And a big help is definitely, being part of Life in Air, being part of Ascend, going to masterminds and just keeping on, because it really just keeps you on track every quarter when we go to them, or every 3 months. Because like Maddie said, we all get these, fancy, bright ideas that don't really align with our vision. Then we convince ourselves of them. And then going to the mastermind, it's like, okay, does that align with your vision? Or do you need to like tweak that a little bit so that way, you're not trying to reinvent the wheel, every year or something like that. So just being around a bunch of like-minded people really, really helps.
Man, well, I'll tell you, one thing that you guys should prepare yourself for, and you're not going to have to pay another $300 because you can come back for free. But as you guys as you go down this journey, we see a lot of students come back and rewrite their vision, because now the money game is beat and life is different. Wow. And they have family and things have shifted. And so you guys, of course, like we'll see back at an event here when you need to retool the vision in 2.0 or 3.0 or whatever version you're on at that point. I'll tell you, this is awesome, guys. I want to really thank you for being on the show. You're truly, not only are you guys awesome, which makes this even way cooler, but you guys really, I know you don't probably see yourself this way, but you're really kind of an inspiration to a lot of people. And I think when people hear your message and what you do to be successful and how you view that success, and that you guys really are really just living it, it's going to resonate with a lot of people. So thank you for being on the Life in Air Show, guys. We will catch you guys soon.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Dude, that was an awesome interview. Absolutely love Alex and Maddie. They are fantastic. Just super nice people and super cool. And they made incredible things happen. Like, dude, they're on deal 59 and it's been like 2 years. That's insane. And not only that, but they're now like, they have a different schedule. They, so what an awesome story.
Yeah, I loved hearing that, man. What's incredible about this story is this, and some of my takeaways from it is how you respond to life matters. And he mentioned the whole thing about laptop at the kitchen table. And I think that's kind of like burned into his brain. So whenever he's up against something, he just hooks onto that and just, what's the worst thing that can happen? And I love the little exercise that he mentioned, that if he's, let's say, buying a house in the middle of nowhere, he lists everything that can go wrong. And then he figures out how he would solve it. And then it's like, dude, no excuses.
There was a lot of gems in this episode. I hope you guys caught those. Like, not only does, and he has this confidence that like, hey, it's gonna work. I believe in me. I'm just gonna pound it out. I'm gonna make it happen until that thing that I'm up against breaks, right? Until I overcome that obstacle. I love the mentality that you mentioned, the kitchen table, battlefield, where like that's where he flips that switch and he goes into that mode and just gets it done. He just gets it done. Also, I love, like you said, the exercise that you just talked about, like, and think about this in your life right now. If you're a listener, you're facing a struggle or a challenge, there's probably a whole lot of things there that are swarming around in your mind that are hard to kind of like capture, that you feel overwhelmed or anxiety about. What if you do this exercise? What if you write down all the things that are on your mind that you feel like are going wrong, all the things that are bothering you, and then you have a concrete, tangible list in front of you, and then think about the solutions for it. I mean, it's so hard for me, at least, to really kind of capture and make progress on things when they're kind of like just floating around in my head and I can't grab anything, I can't think clearly. But putting that in front of you is a great exercise. I also love like that he has to. They both talked about kind of filling your mind with positive influences and doing a lot of reflecting and being around the right people. Like, all of these are phenomenally valuable tips to do what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, it's all what's going on up here. That's an 80-90% of that mental game. That's the successful thing. And I always say to my students when we were in a room, and I say, listen, something always is going to break. It's going to be you or it's going to be that thing. You get to choose which one it is, right? And I think for them, he chooses that thing's going to break. I'm never going to break. That thing's going to break. So he goes with that kind of an approach. And look what he's been able to accomplish. And they're a great team. If you look at them, they're supporting each other. They're there for each other. And the last thing, which I think was very important that he said, giving without expectations to each other. I think that's a huge thing. Not only in marriage, giving love without expectation, giving the, whatever it is that you're doing in life for the other person without expectations. That's when it comes back abundantly for you. Well,
and the person you're with is the ultimate form of being around the right person, right? And that's the ultimate form of surrounding yourself with the right people. And so, so those of you who don't have that supportive spouse, what can you do to help that relationship grow and flourish? And those that do, what can you do to continue and improve that relationship to the point that you're getting the most out of it you can, again, without expectation for returns?
All right. So when are you going to start doing that with me, man? I'm waiting and waiting and waiting.
Well, I'm going to give you the, Maddie mentioned the love languages test. I think I'll give you a love language test first, and we'll see how I can.
You still don't know my love language?
I thought it was like pierogies.
Yeah.
All right, listen, everyone. Sorry for the ridiculousness here. Thank you for tuning in. We are extremely humbled and privileged that you would listen to us banter about this ridiculous stuff. These interviews, I'll tell you, we feel, dude, I love getting to talk to these people and hearing these stories, and I'm inspired, and Alex and Maddie are just fantastic. And so listen, if you love this interview, please leave us a review, leave us a rating, subscribe, tell your friends about it, tell your family about it, tell your coworkers about it, tell your gym buddies about it, tell your church buddies about it, tell everybody about it. Okay. And, also, if you want to be part of this conversation, go on and join the Life in Your app. You guys we've been mentioning this week in and week out. This is a free resource for you to get to join us, be part of the conversation. Steve Cook, the founder of Life in Your, is in there adding comments and posting things all the time. And you can get feedback right from the founder himself, the author of the Life in Your book. Until next time, live free, live abundantly, and stay safe, everyone. See you next time.